Assalamu alaikum. In Activity 3, we have learned that the respiratory gaseous exchanges in the body take place by diffusion. In the lungs, oxygen gas diffuses from the alveoli to the blood, while CO2 diffuses from the blood to the alveoli. While at the level of tissues, oxygen gas diffuses from the blood to the cells and CO2 diffuses in the opposite direction. Blood, the most important liquid in your body. It's made up of erythrocytes that play an important role in transport of gases, platelets that stop bleeding, white blood cells that fight pathogens, and the plasma, yellow in color and that bathes the cells. The constituents of blood can be separated by centrifugation. The red blood cells play an important role in the transport of respiratory gases due to their richness in hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a red-colored protein that gives the red color to the red blood cells. This molecule contains 4 atoms of iron that can bind to oxygen gas or to carbon dioxide. In the lungs, which are rich in oxygen, this later diffuses to the blood, where it combines with hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. When oxyhemoglobin reaches the organs which are poor in oxygen, it decomposes and goes back into hemoglobin and oxygen. This later diffuses to the cells that need it to function properly. As you see, the reaction between oxygen and hemoglobin takes place in 2 opposite ways without any change in the identity of each molecule. For this reason, we say that this reaction is reversible. So, the chemical reaction between hemoglobin and oxygen can be represented by the following word equation. The usage of 2 opposite arrows means that this reaction is reversible. And this is the equation of the same reaction, but it is written in symbols. When hemoglobin molecules become saturated with oxygen, they can no more combine with this gas. So, the remaining quantity of oxygen, which is about 1.5%, is transported in dissolved form by the plasma. When the blood reaches the organs and after the diffusion of O2 from the blood to the cells, which in turn produce CO2 as a waste, CO2 diffuses from the cells to the blood and combine with hemoglobin to form carbohemoglobin. After being transported by the blood to the lungs, carbohemoglobin decomposes and goes back to carbon dioxide and hemoglobin. Then, carbon dioxide diffuses into the alveoli where it will be expelled to the outside of the body. As you see, the reaction between CO2 and hemoglobin is also reversible since it takes place in two opposite ways without any change in the identity of molecules. The chemical reaction between CO2 and hemoglobin can be represented by the following word equation. Don't forget, the usage of two opposite arrows means that this reaction is reversible. And this is the equation of this reaction using symbols. Hemoglobin is not the only way to transport carbon dioxide. It transports only 20 to 30% of carbon dioxide. The remaining quantity of CO2 is transported in two other forms, which are 60 to 70% in the form of bicarbonate and 7 to 10% in the dissolved form by the plasma. The blood that enters the lungs, coming from all body organs, is dark in color since it's poor in oxygen. In the lungs, this blood turns into bright red after the diffusion of O2 from the alveoli and its combination with hemoglobin. While the blood that enters the organs, coming from the lungs, is bright in color since it's rich in oxyhemoglobin. In the organs, this blood turns into dark red after the decomposition of oxyhemoglobin and the diffusion of O2 from the blood to the cells. Tobacco contains more than 250 toxic substances. Carbon monoxide is one of the most dangerous ones. Carbon monoxide is a very toxic gas. Once it is inhaled, this gas diffuses into the blood and combines with hemoglobin in an irreversible manner, taking the place of oxygen gas that can no more bind to hemoglobin. Then, the capacity of hemoglobin in the transport of oxygen gas decreases, which leads to the shortness of breath and cardiac problems.